good people, ladies and gentlemen? It's your favorite mood boy, Peanut.
And your girl, Prin. And we are coming to you live from She Writes Books Media Studios. And we are Candid Conversation with Peanut.
And Prin. There it is. Gotta let them know who you are. You know what I mean? How you doing, love? How you doing?
Hi, honey.
You looking real magnificent over there.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
You looking pretty handsome yourself.
Well, I mean, I knew we was coming on, so I had to put a shirt on.
Oh, okay.
You know
Okay.
how that is. You know how that go. So what's happening? What's up? What's going on? What's on your mind? How you feeling?
How am I feeling? As the seasons change, I am an asthmatic. I don't know if any of our viewers are asthmatics, but when the body gets cold, for me, it triggers an asthma attack. So I am over here managing and maintaining.
When the seasons change, oh, we don't stay the same. Anywho, yeah, I know what it's like when the seasons change. But I'm not asthmatic, so I don't have the same issues as you do. But you got to throw in a big guy to keep you warm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'll raise that temperature. That'll definitely raise that temperature.
So, I was thinking about what were we going to talk about on this particular episode. So I have a question for you, sir.
I'm not even sure I'm ready for this question. But, I'm in a tricky predicament. Like, what do I do? Close my screen down and run off? Like, I got to answer the question, right? It's candid conversations.
It is candid conversation.
Answer the question. So,
okay. Every adult has different situations that arise in life that may cause them to have to make a big decision. Okay. So some people's big decisions could be to take a new job or to not take a new job, to move out of state or to stay within state. So this evening, I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about how you might approach making said big decision. And then maybe we can share some tips with our viewers. And I did also Google some information on ways to help you make a big decision.
Okay. This is easy for me.
It's easy?
Yeah, really? It's definitely easy for me. It's easy for me because my big decision or any decision is based around my kids.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? The kids and you.
Okay.
So if it doesn't fit within the spectrum of that, it's an easy no. If it's doable and everybody's satisfied and everybody, gets an opportunity to thrive and get some of what they want and we can all move forward, then it's a go.
It's just okay, so I have to be devil's advocate. So, ladies and gentlemen, you all have no idea, but we do this often in our conversations where I play devil's advocate. And after I pose a particular idea / conversation piece, I will then flip it and make it just a little bit more interesting. So
come on, Simone Biles, flip it for me.
So what if the decision that you have to make is in the best interest of your family, but your spouse doesn't necessarily see it that way in the beginning? How do you then approach it?
Yeah, it's a whole lot of conversation. So you have to paint the picture for them.
Okay.
You have to explain it in a way of which your spouse will understand. And in which case it would mean you would have to know your spouse. You know what I'm saying? You got to know how to start that conversation. You have to know how to approach it. You got to know which words to use, which phrases to use. Baby, baby, okay, look, I understand where you are. Think about it like this. Okay. Just think about it. Like you gotta have all of that intact. You know what I mean? And certain things like that, make the conversation a little bit easier to get into. Now, in reference to you and I'm not so sure how hard it would be, because everything you do is from where you are right now. Hashtag She Writes Book Studios. So, you know, it's not such a difficult task, so to speak.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I just think it would depend on the conversation. You know, whomever has to do the explaining has to gather all the information, and come and approach it from a perspective of, understanding what their spouse wants, and then, how to navigate said waters so that they both reach, the same goal. It's a hard thing to do sometimes, though.
Okay. So recently, or this week, I was presented with a big decision. And I say a big decision because anything pertaining to money, anything pertaining to maybe furthering one of our businesses, I think, in my opinion, that's a big decision.
Mm-hmm.
And so what made me think about this conversation was, as I was, like you said, gathering more information, what I realized is that every couple, they don't have that experience. Like, they might be newlyweds, and while you knew each other well enough to know that you loved each other, you might not know each other well enough to navigate your way through making a big decision together. And so, the piece that you just said about knowing your spouse, that might not be as easy as we say it is, because things like money, is a difficult thing to have a conversation about. Some people are uncomfortable about money. Some people, are almost fearful of the lack thereof, or what is it if they obtain too much money. So that's what made me think about this particular conversation, because it's like, as our channel grows and different ventures that we have going on off camera grow, it definitely changes the dynamic. And when it changes the dynamic, those are some big decisions that have to be made.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would be nice to talk about.
Well, I mean, one of the key phrases that you actually said in what you were saying was, we have to have a conversation about it. So if we just take the topic of money, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
we had that conversation.
Right.
It was very difficult early on. And then the second one got a little bit easier. And the third one got a little bit easier. And the fourth one, it was like, yeah, we should do this. And the fifth one was like, well, we're going to make this move right here. But the one thing that we didn't do was, I didn't judge you for your experiences of how you felt, and vice versa. You listen with an open mind and an open heart. I listened with an open mind and an open heart, and we made it to where we are right now. But what we did not do was avoid the conversation.
Well, so I think that, that was a really good point. I really think that people that are in love with each other, they believe what they see in the movies. And so they don't think that there will be a difficult conversation. And so when the conversation feels uncomfortable to have, they shun away from it, instead of saying, you know what, we're going to have this conversation. And the first time it might be difficult, and the next time it might be a little less difficult, but you have to get into the practice of it. So definitely, I think that's where couples sometimes fall short, because they think that, the love and the mushiness and the affection that they see in the movies is what your relationship's going to be like all the time. And realistically, it's not going to always be that all the time. Like, we all have good days, bad days. And so everything is not going to be roses.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you brought out a good point about, it gets easier the more that you actually have those conversations. Because now we do talk very freely about money.
Yeah, but in the beginning, it was a rough joint. But I mean, in all actuality, well, first of all, let me say this before I go into the thought that I just had.
Okay.
The more uncomfortable the conversation, the more you need to have it.
Okay.
Because that
Good stuff.
conversation is the conversation that can determine where it goes from here.
True.
So if you never have that conversation, you just what Michael Jackson says, you're stuck in the middle, like you just sitting there, you're settling, and you're afraid to have that conversation. Well, in not having the conversation, you don't even know if you're gonna hear something to say, okay, maybe this ain't working, I should go here. Or, well, I'm glad you felt that way. Let's move on and go here. But if the conversation never had, you're on a treadmill, you're just running in place. You're not going nowhere fast. So the more uncomfortable the conversation, the more it needs to be had. That's the way I feel.
Okay.
But shoot, I forgot what I was about to say though. See, that's what happens when you got a lot going on up there.
Right.
What was that last thing you said? Yep. See, you're in the same place that I am. You got so much going on, you done forgot too.
Okay, so maybe it'll come back to you. But the thought that I was having while you were speaking was I was having a conversation with one of my cousins. And in the conversation, we were talking about sometimes it is difficult to speak up for yourself. And so, in having a difficult conversation, I'm thinking about just some of the things we talked about. And I could see how someone would feel like, well, maybe if they speak up and, advocate for what they want to see happen, that it may cause a rift or cause confusion or strife in the relationship. And so they would just go with the flow. But in actuality, going with the flow really does create bitterness, and it creates a whole nother ball of issues that, somehow get tossed onto, that table that you go back to forever. And when you get mad, then it comes out in an argument. And so I think it's really important for people to, have that conversation, even if it's difficult, and realize that in having a difficult conversation, you're actually empowering yourself and you're empowering the strength of your relationship.
Well, here's what I know. You can't be mad and all tight in the face about something if you ain't said it. Because now you're expecting the other person to be, a damn mind reader.
But come on now, let's be honest. I know I personally have been in relationships in the past where I was just supposed to be a daggone mind reader. I was supposed to know that.
Yeah, as have I. And where they at now? That's why I got you and you got me, because they ain't want to talk about it.
These are facts. So, but if there's anybody out there that, you're currently in a relationship and maybe you think that just going with the flow, not speaking up for yourself, not voicing your own opinion is going to help salvage the relationship, it's not. It will not help salvage the relationship. You actually are just putting another nail in the coffin of that relationship by not addressing it and communicating it. Now, granted, I will say that there is a way to say everything. Mm-hmm. And disclaimers are your friend. I use a lot of disclaimers in conversations.
We do that all the time.
We do.
We do that all the time. Got to throw a disclaimer out there, because a lot of people, they take things the wrong way, as if you're coming at them or talking at them or talking down to them, but
right. Sometimes you just don't know how else to say something. So, for example, you might need to say that you don't agree with whatever their point of view is. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, it's fine. And you can say, I don't mean any harm. This isn't anything against you personally. I just don't agree. Or I feel such and such a kind of way. Right. But I think a lot of people, especially women, like in women to men relationships, well, I can't even say that. I think that women are so used to shutting up and putting up Even though women talk about Black women, and well, I'm sorry, because I don't mean just Black women empowerment, but women empowerment. You know, I've heard women say, woohoo, pussy power, you know, all of that. That's cute. But in our real lives, sometimes you think it's just easier to go with the flow. And that's not easier. And it makes guys confused because they don't know what the heck you really thinking. So they go off of a decision, and you know, you 10 years into your situationship, relationship, or marriage, and they think, you know, that you like going to the movies. And then they find out you don't.
Yeah. I've seen something like that happen before. I sure have. I mean, but you know, you gotta say it. You know what I mean? Sometimes we need to hear it. You know, I've been told a couple things that nobody's ever said to me before by you.
What did I say, honey? What was something that I've said to you that no one else has said before?
That no one else has said before?
Yeah. It might have been a difficult conversation or something that you deem as a difficult conversation or decision to have said conversation.
Well, I remember when you told me that I didn't love myself. You know what I mean? That's one of those statements that'll cause you to, like, it's not a blanket statement. You really got to look at that. That can be looked at multiple ways, right? But then I also had to think about leading up to it, what made you say it. So I couldn't be mad at you because you said it. I actually had to look at myself. And in looking at myself, you know, in reference to the conversations that we were having, it made me say, well, damn, she might be right. Because I do this for them and I do this for them, and everybody getting everything, and I'm running every which way. But what about me? Like, I wouldn't give myself no self-care. But I say I love my, you know what I'm saying? But I say I love myself. But it didn't translate that way. You know, and it wasn't a hurtful thing. It's just one of those things that when you hear it, you got to go, shit. God, damn, hold on now. Ain't nobody never told me that before. And usually people don't tell you stuff like that. You know, and it's because of something that you were saying. It could be they don't want to hurt your feelings.
They're scared if they tell you that. I mean, I'll be honest. That conversation that we were having and me to actually say that, it was actually very difficult because it was like, well, what if I say this to him and he takes it offensively? What if he doesn't realize that this is coming from a place of love? You know, like it could have gone any kind of way. So definitely that conversation was a difficult decision for me prior to, because it's like, okay, do I say this or do I just keep it to myself?
You know, the beautiful thing about you and I is we talk so much. I don't take nothing personal because there is no stone unturned in the conversations that we have. And there are people that be like, yeah, they be talking about the craziest shit that you would never, ever think to talk about. We're like, you told him that?
Yes.
And but what he say? And he ain't get mad. And nah, I mean, he was just like, hey, woo, woo, woo. That's my Southeast for y'all that don't know. He was like, woo, woo, woo. You know what I mean? And, you know, and we just had a conversation about it. But we done had some wild conversations.
We have.
You know, and a lot of these conversations we had, you know, it was research, it was work, it was, you know, trying to get to the diamond underneath the coal and all of that. But I will admit now, I ain't trying to have no more of them conversations ever again. Because I know what I know and I got what I got. We good. You know what I'm saying? Forward movement. But in order to get to where we are, we had to talk about it. You had to be willing to take mine. I had to be willing to take yours, and I couldn't be mad about it. I mean, you can only respect it when somebody telling you the truth.
Very true.
So, yeah, but that was a rough one. She told me I ain't love myself, y'all. Do I look like I don't love myself? Good Lord, brothers. Yeah.
So, folks, before we get close to wrapping up this particular episode of Candid Conversation, I did want us to do a couple of tips. So, I have some tips for us.
Okay.
Hey, I don't know how well you all can see that. Let's see. Let's get that back on the screen. Uh-oh. Okay, so first tip said to beware that you have a choice. So when making a difficult decision, you need to keep in mind that you do have options to navigate said decision making. The second tip said to question your choice. So I know for me, if it's a choice about maybe to spend money or to not spend money, I will ask myself, well, how bad do I really need it? So that would be like an example of questioning yourself. If you are unsure, don't be afraid to ask for help. So we were talking about within a relationship, if you had a big decision to make, but let's say you and your spouse are trying to decide whether or not to move to, Arizona or stay where you're currently living. And, maybe there are benefits, or disadvantages of moving. And so maybe you need to actually ask for some help. Maybe you need to talk to some people that that live in that area. Or, maybe you all need to seek actual counseling, like go to somebody who is a non-biased individual and the two of you talk it out. But don't be afraid to ask for help. Let's see. The last tip that is on this list, because it was a list of 7, and we definitely will make sure that all of the tips that we showcased in that little clip are in the description box. But the last tip that I thought was really, really important was trust your intuition. So if you're making a decision about something, I think it's really important for you to trust your intuition about making said decision, because you know what's going to really work in the long run. If you're in a relationship and you all are trying to make a decision together, I say that you have to trust the process of going through and talking about it with each other. But just trust your intuition. Like, you have that gut feeling for a reason.
Okay. So choices. You have choice. Question your choice. Okay. Have a conversation about it. Trust your intuition. There's some good joints on there. I can see how they all relate to one another.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You start at the top and you make it to the end of that list. You can probably go ahead and make a decision on something. We making any big decisions this year before the year's over? Or we gonna wait till next year?
Before the year is over?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what we have in store.
I know what a few people are, chanting for out there in the world, but we'll get to that later on. We will keep you guys posted on that for sure, though. You'll see the difference. You'll see.
So this was another Candid Conversation. Make sure that if you are liking these videos from us, that you subscribe to our channel so you can get the updates on when new videos are coming out, as well as like our videos and share our videos with someone else that you know might be interested. But until next time, keep your conversations candid.
Peace.
you.